Hi, everyone. Welcome to the midweek message. Okay. I am not going to talk for once about what we're doing on Sunday. Today, I'd like to talk with you a little bit about some of the things that I talk with you about when I go visiting and when I talk with you before and after the service. Um, Rebecca Simon Peter is a wonderful writer and thinker. And one of the things that she talks about as far as COVID goes is that there is no going back to whatever normal, what is normal, whatever, but getting used to a new normal. Um, and I want us to think about that a little bit today because there is, like we're always in a state of evolving. And I think it's a bit of a trap to say, oh, it was so much easier before COVID. Well, it wasn't. I mean, we were struggling with the same issues we're struggling with today. If they've been exacerbated, well, then maybe we need to listen to that, right? Um, and I also want to talk with you. I don't want to be negative about this because I don't think it is negative. I think that there are gifts and opportunities here that we need to see. And one of them, I think that I hope that we can do is to fall in love with our community again, fall in love with our little church community. What a beautiful bunch of people. And also fall in love with the little village of Cumberland and the region around us, Rockland and Orleans. And while we're at that, falling in love with God and with spirituality again, because I think that that is something that we have missed. And on the note of what we have missed, I want you to get a pen and paper or grab your phone if you want to type it in there or just think about this. Uh, I'd like you to make a list of everything you have less of because of the pandemic. Now, because this is YouTube, you can just hit pause and do that. And I hope you do. So, some of the things that we might have lost. I'm hoping that you did pause and just even stop to think about that for a minute. Well, we have less connection with people. We have been isolated for a long time. I know that there have been so many people who have struggled with that, especially, my lovely, beautiful people that I visit in the retirement homes. When they get isolated, it's much, much harder for them. But I think it's hard for all of us because we've all had little cognitive declines because, when you aren't around other people and you aren't able to interact in the way that you are used to, your brain gets a little fuzzy. So that's one thing. We have less money. We're in the middle of this of inflation, and we're hoping not to go into a recession. We may have less focus. We may feel a little more raw and sensitive. We may have a little less engagement. We might just feel, disaffected by all of this because we have been alone for a long time. We might also feel less comfortable being around large groups of people. I know I struggle with that. I love seeing you guys and I love seeing small groups of people, not quite as comfortable in large groups of people. Okay, so we have that list. Now, I want you to take that list and put it aside and get ready to pause me again. Hey, the power, if only you could do that during the sermon on Sunday, right? Okay, all right. Make a list now of everything you have more of because of the pandemic. And if you're thinking, what? I don't have more of anything because of the pandemic. Think more deeply than that. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. Okay. I hope that you've come back and you've either thought about a list or actually written it down. So guess what? That list might just be gorgeous. That list, you might find that there are more valuable and more precious things on that list than the other list. When I did this little exercise, I was surprised by the things that I have more of. They may not be as tangible. For me, they weren't necessarily as tangible. But I think it might take you by surprise if you haven't considered what we actually do have more of. So, just as a little thought exercise, here's some of the things that you might come up with. You might feel more compassion for others. I think if anything, this pandemic has made us realize just how truly atrocious human suffering is. Um, I hope that instills compassion in you for others. We might have more intentionality or more focus. You may find that you actually, when you get to working on something, you have more focus because the peace and the silence and the quiet is a beautiful thing. I mean, it can be anyway. You might find that you're more intentional about the things that you do and that you are choosier about what you decide to do with the times when you go out and are in public. You might find that because you're choosier, you have more patience when seeing other people, even if it is fewer people and it is less often. And you might find that you have a deeper desire to connect with people that you love and just to connect with people in general. You might find that this time has given you a greater sense of what's truly important in your life. So, that's an important list. For me, it was less about tangible stuff. I don't know. Maybe for you, you find that you might have more money, you might have more, you might have done very well during this pandemic. I don't know. I'm kind of just telling you the stuff that came up for me. And I think we actually can do more with less, which I think we are all, it's on everybody's mind right now. How do you do more with less? Um, but we can do more with less when we're not focused on trying to do everything. I think, we're always trying to do everything, get it all done, be super, super mom, super dad, superhuman. But I think when we pay attention to what we do have more of, we realize that actually that's where our strength is, and maybe that's where our focus should be. Maybe that's where we should be putting our energy. So, what we do have an abundance of is maybe the place where our energy should go. And we can do something with all of that if we have more patience, if we are more intentional, about the things that we do choose to do, if we are more appreciative of one another. My goodness, we really can do something with that. We really can explore those gifts together and find maybe that focus and that intention and that compassion or patience, that those things when we put our energy into them open up whole new avenues for us. Because, as a community, as a spiritual community, why are we here? Well, obviously, we are here for spirituality. We are here to explore our spirituality. We are here to resonate with each other and God. We are looking for connection with that which is larger than we are. We are here to embrace mystery together. We are here building a spiritual community together, and that beauty and that intention and that connectedness is something that, for me at least, has become much, much more meaningful since the pandemic. So we're here for our spirituality, and we are here to hear God speak, to hear ourselves again, and to listen for God and to listen to each other. Well, those are important things. And I hope that if we have more patience, then we're going to have a little more love for one another and for God, and maybe a little more room in our hearts to explore spirituality, to explore the nature of God together. And you can appreciate, I think, because that's where you're putting your energy and your focus, what truly matters in life, what is truly important. Because we're not trying to do it all. We're focusing on what truly matters. So I would challenge you to pay attention to what we have more of, because maybe that's where our focus needs to be. And sure, we do need to grieve the stuff that we have less of. We do need to grieve the stuff that we miss. But then I want you to take the next step and recognize what we actually have, because we do have, I hear the joy in the sanctuary in the morning, and I think, man, we have strengths that we just aren't even aware of. And from there, all kinds of things become possible. So let's look at what we actually have more of and work with that. Because I believe that abundant possibilities and abundant connections and abundant love and abundant creativity, that is where God is. That is a mystery we can embrace and explore in confidence. That's where spirituality intersects with who we are now in our new normal. Spirituality is not only being present to God, but being present to oneself and being present with one another, which we may not do as often, but hopefully we then have a little bit more depth and ability to do when we do choose to do it. So, one of the simplest, now this actually is from Rebecca Simon Peter, and I want to read it to you. This is just so beautiful. I love this. She says, one of the simplest ways when we gather is to set the expectation that God will be speaking to you today. Listen for how Jesus is prompting you. Pay attention to what the Spirit might be saying to you. That's why we started talking about our God sightings each week. We started talking about God sightings, and I know at first it felt weird. Now I can tell you guys pretty much enjoy it. It lifts our spirits to hear these beautiful moments. And we expect now to hear and to recognize and to see God in the experiences that we have and in the people and in creation around us. And we expect God to be delighted too, as in, I'm just going to pretend to be God for just a second here. Not that I ever could be, but here we go. As in, oh, good. And this is Rebecca Simon Peter said this. Oh, good. Finally, they're talking about me and creating space for me. I love that she said that. And I love the idea that we can set the expectation that God will be speaking to us today and that we can listen for Jesus prompting us. We can pay attention to what the Spirit might be saying to us. That is one of the reasons why I do imaginative prayers and meditations when we do have services that, kind of go off from the norm. Those imaginative prayers where you place yourself in the scene, that's just a beautiful way to listen for God and to put yourself in a creative place, a creative and sort of active meditation. That kind of spirituality is really great for us as far as sort of revitalizing our spirituality. So I hope that when we do that and not just the regular prayers, it doesn't feel too strange. Just like God sightings, it becomes more natural the more you do it. And I would also challenge you to, instead of looking at the Bible as this manual for right living and for rules and for do's and don'ts, we could see it as Rebecca sees it. She says, and I quote, wow, look at all the ways God interacts with humanity. When we can manage to reframe what our scripture stories have or have to share with us and teach us, every single experience in the life of our community can become a spiritual opportunity, not just a physical or a social or a religious one. I mean, they're all of those things too, but they can become a spiritual opportunity. Wow, look at all the ways God interacts with humanity. What a lovely way to reframe our scripture stories. I like that. I like that a lot. So, those are my thoughts for this week. I just think that there is so much that we can do together, and there's so much beauty and joy and energy in that sanctuary. And I hope that we can take that and fall in love with our community again and fall in love with our wider community again. I know they need the love. I know we all need the love after being isolated for as long as we have. And I know that right now, whether we're aware of it or not, we are forging a new normal. And that can be a beautiful thing. So I hope that you see the opportunities with me. I hope that we can use this time of reframing and forging something new to explore our spirituality together and to listen for God and to expect to hear God. So there you go. Embrace some mystery with me. Until next week, and in this together with you, this is Reverend Stephanie signing off.